All right, this is one of my favorite lures here. I have just done really well um, selling this lure. People put a lot of trout on it. It's a small 2 and 5/8 inch jerkbait, and it just works wonderful for the trout. I have a bunch of them painted up for the show this weekend, but I don't have any in this size. So I'm going to paint this one up with the same pattern, so you can see how I paint that pattern, and you can replicate it if you want, or just get some ideas if you want, whatever you want to do. I already base painted it so that you didn't have to watch me paint it white, because that's kind of lame. The first color I'm going to go with now is going to be Liquitex Iridescent Bright Silver. If you haven't tried these paints from Liquitex, I'm here to tell you they're awesome. They are absolutely awesome. You get a lot of reflective qualities. They're great when you put them under candies. I really like them a lot. And you don't need a lot. You're just going to paint. You're gonna put a little bit on the very bottom and on the belly, and then you want to brighten up the sides pretty well. You want enough there for the candies to show through. Let's see what we got here. Okay, here we go. I'm going to try and keep this in frame so you can see it. Just a little bit on the belly. You just want to be able to, you're going to put a little candy there, but not a lot. Put that on heavy, so I want to dry it up a little bit. Now, whenever you work with candies, if you're newer to this and you don't know, you have to use a make coat. A lot of times I use polyacrylic. Today, for ease of my guns, I'm going to use the 4011, because sometimes when I use the polyacrylic, I got to clean up my gun more than I would normally have to, and I don't want to have to go through all that while I'm trying to shoot this. So let's just use 4011. So let that dry up for a second. Then I'm going to shoot some 4011 on it, and okay. Now that the iridescent silver is dry, I'm going to shoot a little 4051 on there, a little mid coat to protect it when we put the candies on there. The candies are, I think they said they're an aniline dye, something like that. Number one, don't get on your fingers. It'll stay forever. There's a little bit right there I can't get rid of. It will just get in the skin and stay there. You might think you got a tattoo or something. I just put this on there. That'll protect it from that. Then after I'm done with the candies, I put it on again before I start painting again. So this lure does have a lot of drying times involved, because there's a lot of mid coats in here. But, you know, it's a great lure. It's a great color. A lot of guys I've seen, when they do a brown trout pattern, they'll use a gold. They just use a goldish or a brownish or golden brown. What happens is you don't get the depth. The more colors you add, the more depth you get. So with this, the silver is coming through and doing stuff with the lemon yellow that we're going to use, and then this is in there, so you get different depths. It looks more natural. So let's let that dry up, and we're going to put the first candy on. I'm going to clean out the gun while you wait. Okay, here we go. First, we're going to use 4653 Createx Candio Lemon Yellow. When I put it over the silver, I start to see it start to come into the gold family. Just so I put way too much in. We don't need that much. I keep my pressure really low for this. This candy shoots real easy, and you don't need a lot. With this lure, I'll tell you, be careful. It's real easy to darken it up too much. You don't want to do that. You don't want it dark. And this becomes a very, very reflective lure in the water. I mean, it really has a lot of reflective value. pounds, which looks like there. Give it a second to sit, and then let it sit for a second. I'll take a look at it, see if I have to touch any area up, and if I do, I'll do that with a very light second coat, and then we'll clean out the gun and move on to the tequila yellow. I do like it to dry all the way before I put the next coat on. So, and I don't use the heat gun much with candies. I don't like it. I'm afraid of it. I think it screws it up, so I don't do that. So instead of making you sit here with this for me, I'm gonna edit this part out and let you go. Okay, that's all dry now. I'm going to shoot another MIG coat on it, but while I did, I wanted to let you know you can buy any of these you want at sammysbaits.com. I'll have a link in the description. And if you'd like to see them in action, there's two guys out there fishing them a lot. That's Bogey's Keeping It Real. He's on YouTube, as well as June T's Outdoors. June has been catching a lot of trout on him. Chris catches some trout, catches a lot of smallmouth and some of my other lures. I'm going to leave a link in the description to both channels. They're great channels. If you like them, you know, keep watching them. Subscribe if you like. They're good guys who love to fish, and I appreciate that they're checking my lures out for me and catching fish on them. I really appreciate them catching lots of fish on them. So I figured I'd show you this clear coat so that I could take that second to explain or to tell you about that. So we're going to let this dry now, and I'll be back to you in a minute. So hang on. Okay, that's good and dry now. The next one we're going to use here is going to be Bombay Brown. I just like the way it shoots. It shoots so easy. And again, this is another one with very low pressure. You just got to shake it up pretty good here. And we're going to do the top, the shoulders a little bit, and around the eyes. And that's all we're going to do with this. But it's an ink, so you got to put it on real light. And it takes 2 or 3 coats to build up enough of the color on it. And the biggest reason we want this is because we're going to shoot a color shift. We're going to use Turbo Dork Radium. We're going to shoot that over top of it. And color shifts generally like a darker color to go over top of to be effective. And I tried it with black. That's what you generally use a lot of the color shifts over. And I do not like it with the black. It's not it's not the same. So I use it with the brown, and I get the exact effect I want. I get a brownish, sort of a red tone, brown tone, to and a gold and a green in it. It's just a beautiful shift. So real light, because you're gonna need a couple coats. Probably have my hand in your way, and I'm sorry for that. I try not to as best as possible. I think we get the spine section really, really dark. Not really, really dark, but much darker than the rest of it. And I'll bring it out. When I shoot the Turbo Dork, I bring it down and get a little bit on the area that remains gold, just so it helps the whole thing blend a little better and gives a little more reflectiveness to the sides. I mean, this bait, when the sun hits it, it pops. I give a lot of that credit to the Liquitex Iridescent. It's just a great color. Doesn't it? Not a lot of painting involved in this. It's more waiting for mid coats to dry. There's a lot of that involved. As soon as I have this dark enough, which I think it's there, it's dry enough, I'm going to switch guns and put the radium in. I'm going to shoot that. Then, it doesn't have to be, but I put a mid coat on because the next step is going to be putting on the spots. And if I make a mistake when I'm putting the spots on, if I have a good clear coat on there, I can just hit it with a damp Q-tip and take that spot off and do it over again. So, you know, you don't have to put another mid coat on, but I do. It just keeps me from having to repaint a whole bait. This Turbo Dork, the radium, I know Lure Build sells them, but I've never seen him have the radium, so I get it on Amazon. I want to say it was $6.99 for this little bottle. There's a lot of paint in here. You don't use much per bait. I do have to reduce it just a little bit, and I just used the 4011 for that. It does just fine. I shoot it around 20 psi, 18 to 20. Yeah. Get a good wet coat on, then I dry it up. Hopefully the camera's picking this up. It's starting to change it a little bit. I'm gonna dry that. I used to use the Vallejo, if that's how you say it, Vallejo, however, I'm not 100% sure. Don't want to butcher the name, but I'm not sure. Out of their Space Dust collection, they have a Break Old Brown, which is just incredibly awesome for this. The problem is you got to buy 6 colors because that's not sold individually. If it is sold individually, I haven't found it. So if you know a place I can get it individual, let me know. Because that's actually my first choice. This Turbo Dork is my second choice. The Turbo Dork is great. It just is a little lighter in the brown, where the Vallejo shows up the brown a little better in the shift. Can you see that? I'm trying to get it in the light there a little bit. If not, you're gonna have to buy one to find out. But guess what? Time for another mid coat, so I'm gonna put you guys on blackout period again. Okay, so we're gonna enter the final phase of this. Now what we have to do is put spots on the lure. I use these little nail tools. I got the whole set for like $6 or $7 on Amazon. And all I do, I have a few of these little ad slicks I cut up into little squares because the paint doesn't go through them. I usually use Createx. I'm out of it, so I just grab some of this till I get my water in. I don't like shooting this paint. I just use it for the dipping, and it gets by okay. I have gold and high flow to shoot, but it doesn't dip well. So what you're going to want to do, just dip your thing. You want random size and random location dots. I usually, on the lure this size, I'll go with 5, 6, 7. Not much more than that usually. And you might not be able to see it, but these produce a little bit of a high spot. And I'll show you what I do to get rid of that in a second. I'm not going to knock you off too much here because this part goes pretty fast. I'm only going to do one side now. I'll do the other side later. This is just to show you what we got to get done. um, for speed sake. Now as it dries, it starts to stay a little high in the middle. So what I'll come back in again then to do is kind of pop it and blot it. It kind of just creates a dome there. There's actually no paint under it. Just from, I guess, trying to release moisture from the paint or air or whatever. It gives a little bit of a dome there. And that, it can be problematic. It can be a pain when you're trying to put the clear coat on. You want this as smooth as possible. I found that I need 2 coats of the UV resin to ensure that I don't have any high and low spots when I do it this way. But after you get that, just take a little bit of red. Come back through. Now I'll usually pick a tool that has one just slightly smaller than the ones I just did. Sometimes I have to blot it on there if I have too much paint on it. I'll take it, and that one's going to have to be blotted, I think. Just leave a little ring of the white showing. These do not have to be exactly like a juvenile brown trout. I believe you're working with a reaction bait, so you want to have the right colors there, especially if you're working in a clear water environment. But I don't believe they have to be exactly perfect. I mean, I don't think a bass is or a trout is looking at a lure coming past it saying, oh wait, those scales don't look right, I'm not going to eat it. It's a reaction bait. If you get it close enough, they're going to eat it. That's all there is to it. After you get that, once that's set up, you may have to blot them too. Usually I don't have to, for some reason, blot the red. But I'm just going to do this real quick. Improve with some black. What I'll do is I'll do this half so you can see it. Then I'm going to stop filming while I do the other half, because there's really no sense in dragging this out where you're making you watch too much of everything. I go a little bit smaller with the black ones, not too small, and I definitely go random, or at least I try to. I can do this with the gun, but it actually takes me longer. Excuse me, the brush. I keep calling it a gun. I can do this with the airbrush, but it takes me longer. Now, if you're somebody who can use your gun to make the dots real good and fast, it might be for you. I don't have a small 0.2 needle gun or smaller, so I do, but it's Danny the needle or nozzle for it, maybe both. But then I could probably do it faster that way, but this doesn't take very long. And there you have it. That should give you an idea of what it looks like right there. How's that look? Alright, let me get it finished up, and I'll be back and we'll go from there. Alright, I just wanted to bring you back. I just took it off the turner so you can get an idea what she looks like. She's all painted up. Sammy's baits, baby. There you go. Nice and simple. There she is.